Finally, this is a question for CMS. Dr. Oz isn't here. An executive order was issued some time ago that says every hospital has to publish conspicuously a list of 30 main procedures and the cost. Most of the hospitals haven't done that. Those that have done it, you have to click 27.3 times in order to find it on their website. Only 27 hospitals have been fined for not doing it. Why aren't we doing more? The hospitals are ignoring.
The regulation was passed during the last days of the Trump administration. It was not enforced during the Biden administration. We now have promulgated final regulations.
Pause. Did you just see that? Because I need you to stick around and watch this full video with me. Look, I'll be honest. I don't usually get excited about Senate hearings. Most of the time, it's politicians talking past each other and achieving nothing. But this was different. Senator Kennedy came in with a real, practical idea. Not a talking point, not a campaign slogan, an actual idea that any busy parent or working adult who's ever stood confused in a grocery store aisle can connect with. He basically said stop overcomplicating it. Give people a simple list. Tell them what to look for. Make it human. And what got me is that RFK Jr. didn't push back. He agreed, and he went further, talking about traffic light labeling like they use in Latin America. These two are actually building something together in real time. So, watch this full video with me. Whether you're into politics or not, whether you trust the government or not, this conversation is about your food, your health, and your right to understand what you're putting in your body. Hit that like button if you think food labels should actually make sense, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into it.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Secretary, one of the more beneficial things that I think your agency has done under your leadership, in my judgment, is to educate the American people about ultra-processed foods. But it's still too complicated. How can your department go about uncomplicating it? I mean, the American people are busy. They're busy earning a living. And they don't have time to sit down and research the definition of an ultra-processed food. Rather than listing all the ultra-processed foods, which of course would invite litigation and consternation and gnashing of the teeth, how can you come up with a list of things that people should look for on the label to know if it's ultra processed? For example, sodium. If it's got more than this amount of sodium, it's ultra processed. Does that make sense? Do you understand my question?
I think it's not only a question of I understand, but it's a question that my agency's put a lot of thought into. There has been no workable definition of ultra-processed food before we came in here. That's regulatory malpractice. We now
there has or hasn't?
There has not, never.
Well, why don't you do it? If with respect, why don't you do it?
We already did it. So our regulations are now, we've developed the definition within our agency. It's now, before the rule gets finalized, it's in the interagency process. There are other agencies that have equities like USDA, Department of Commerce, OMB. They have to review our proposal and then approve it. And I would say, Senator, in the meantime, people should eat real food. So,
Bobby, let me stop you because I'm going to run out of time. Look, here's the problem, and I commend you for what you've done. But the American people don't have time to sit down and read a rule or regulation by the federal government. Where I'd like to see you end up on this is not list any particular food items, but say here are 10 ingredients that constitute ultra-processed food. And if it's got sodium above a certain level, it's ultra-processed. If it's got such and such, something real simple that can be communicated. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and we're doing exactly that. Once we get that definition of ultra-processed food, then we're going to go to mandatory front-of-package labeling. And it will be a very simple label, something like they use across Latin America very, very successfully: red light, green light, yellow light. And so people will be able to see the green light, and that's food that's good for you. And if they do the red light, don't eat it. If it's the yellow light, if it's late at night and, you're watching the football game, maybe you can.
Okay, let me stop you. I like the way you're headed. I'm sorry, but my time's limited. Please continue with that. It will be enormously beneficial to the American people. Your agency, across all the sub-agencies, grants a lot of grants. Do all of them have provisions that overhead is capped at 15%?
Well, those would be the grants to the universities.
No, your department issues a lot of grants.
Yeah.
And the agencies under your department. Do all of them contain the 15% cap?
They will contain a 15% cap.
Okay.
Not only to post, but to certify. So they're legally bound by that. And there are draconian punishments for them. And we've already sent out, I think, 1,000 warning letters.
I'm out of time. Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
All right, we just watched the whole thing, and I have thoughts. First, Kennedy's approach from the start was sharp. He didn't come in swinging or trying to embarrass anyone. He opened with a genuine compliment, acknowledging that RFK Jr.'s agency has done real work educating people about ultra-processed foods. That's called being fair. And in today's political climate, that alone is refreshing. But here's where Kennedy really impressed me. He immediately got to the point. It's still too complicated.
And he's right.
You can educate people all day, but if the information requires a PhD to decode, you've failed the average person.
People are exhausted.
They're working, picking up the kids, managing life. They're not going home to Google what constitutes an ultra-processed food. So his solution?
Give people a list.
Give them thresholds. If the sodium is above a certain level, it's ultra-processed. If it contains a certain ingredient, put it back on the shelf. Simple, actionable, and actually useful. That's the kind of policy that improves real lives. And I loved that he wasn't trying to name and shame specific food companies. He specifically said don't list particular foods because, yes, that invites litigation and a political circus nobody needs. Focus on the criteria instead. The building blocks that tell you whether something is bad for you. That's the move that actually gets things done rather than getting buried in industry lawsuits for the next decade. Now RFK Jr.'s response was solid too. The traffic light labeling system he described, the red, yellow, and green model already working across Latin America, is a genuinely good idea. It lines up perfectly with what Kennedy was asking for. A red light on the front of a package is something a 6-year-old can understand. That's exactly where we need to be. Kennedy then shifted to the grant overhead cap, and again, quietly effective, making sure that 15% cap applies across all HHS subagencies is fiscal discipline. Taxpayer money being protected without a big dramatic speech. Just a pointed question, a clear answer, and moving on. And the hospital pricing transparency issue was honestly the most underrated part of the whole exchange. An executive order requiring hospitals to publish their prices has been sitting there largely unenforced, and Kennedy called it out directly. Only 27 hospitals fined? For something that's been on the books for years? That's a failure of accountability. To his credit, RFK Jr. acknowledged the gap and explained what's being done to fix it.
So here's my take.
Senator Kennedy came into that hearing prepared, reasonable, and focused on solutions. He wasn't there to perform. He was there to push real policy forward in a way that actually benefits ordinary people. The food labeling idea alone, if it gets implemented, could genuinely change the way millions of Americans interact with the food system. That, to me, is what good governance looks like. Not perfect, not flashy, but useful. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think about front of package labeling. Would a traffic light system change the way you shop? Like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.